you know, I can't do this forever. I've been doing it since I was 21. As you move into your 80s, you say, hey, that's enough. That's enough.
In a career spanning over 6 decades, Robert Redford has remained a paradoxical figure in American cinema. The golden boy who resisted stardom's glibness, the matinee idol who founded a film festival for outsiders, the actor-director who traded Hollywood gloss for political grit.
Now, times have changed. What does it look like today? You know? And then what you do is you run the risk of maybe offending some journalists if you try to tell a story.
Yet behind the camera's gaze and beneath the Sundance myth lies a quietly reverent artist, one who has spent a lifetime admiring the craft of others as much as refining his own. Redford's screen presence, intelligent, restrained, morally inquisitive, is often described in opposition to the more volatile energies of his contemporaries. But delve into the actors he most reveres, and a pattern emerges. Men of principle, intensity, and conviction, performers who challenge the screen, not merely adorn it. I admire Marlon Brando's work, Redford once told Rolling Stone in 1980. I admire Jimmy Cagney. Cagney is an incredible talent. These were not idle compliments. In Brando, Redford found not just a charismatic trailblazer, but a cautionary tale about fame's seductions. And in Cagney, that master of the twitchy stare and clipped fury, he recognized the power of theatricality under pressure. If Redford's own performances lean toward introspection and understatement, the kind of man who lets silence hover like smoke, then his admiration often lies with actors who set the screen aflame. Brando and Cagney were both working-class thunderbolts, avatars of a new American masculinity that emerged in the middle of the 20th century. Redford, by contrast, has always seemed like a man slightly apart, watching, judging, waiting. But make no mistake, his deference to these legends is born of deep respect, not distance. Marlon Brando, of course, needs no introduction.
You know, if I didn't know that you was my wife's sister, I would get ideas about you.
She's what?
Long place to dumb, you know what.
By the time Redford was a rising young actor in the early 1960s, Brando had already redefined screen acting with his turn in A Streetcar Named Desire, and further etched his iconography in On the Waterfront. Redford, ever the quiet observer, watched closely. Brando changed everything, he once remarked in a panel discussion at the Sundance Institute. He made the old way of acting, that stiff, theatrical approach, feel false. He brought life. He brought truth. It's tempting to draw a line between Brando's rebellious sensuality and Redford's own effortless appeal. Both possessed the kind of photogenic magnetism that could have made their careers on looks alone. But Redford resisted the easy path. He turned down numerous roles early in his career that leaned too heavily on image. When he did accept a part, like in Barefoot in the Park or Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, he played with the frame, giving the pretty boy edges of uncertainty or dry wit.
I'm not picky. As long as she's smart, pretty, and sweet.
Brando, by contrast, seemed to erupt from the screen, unpredictable and dangerous. Redford once noted, "What I respected was not just his skill but his bravery. He could be ugly on screen. He didn't care if you liked him, he just wanted you to feel something real." If Brando embodied the storm, then James Cagney brought the lightning bolt.
Don't you ever say that to me again, do you hear? Never.
A former vaudevillian and dancer, Cagney dazzled audiences with his kinetic energy and startling unpredictability.
And he's to give me that $100,000, you get it? And no wrong cracks, or I'll cut you off short. Got that too? Yeah. Come on.
From The Public Enemy to White Heat, he carved a niche as cinema's quintessential gangster, tough, twitchy, poetic. Cagney had this intensity that was completely his own. Redford said in a 1998 interview with Sight and Sound, "You couldn't take your eyes off him. He had that thing you can't teach, a rhythm, a danger." It's telling that Redford, who built much of his career playing reluctant heroes, should be so drawn to a performer best known for villains. But then Redford has always been more subversive than his all-American image would suggest. In films like 3 Days of the Condor and All the President's Men, he channels moral clarity through quiet desperation, a kind of heroism that echoes Cagney's more combustible one.
All right, listen, I want to comment about that Sunday appointment, right away, dude. Right away.
Yet it wasn't just the force of Cagney's performance that appealed to Redford, it was the control. He was a dancer. Every move meant something. There was nothing accidental. That emphasis on precision and discipline would inform Redford's own directing style years later, especially in his Oscar-winning debut, Ordinary People.
I realized that there was something still unfulfilled, and that was being able to tell the story completely my way.
Like Cagney, he understood the power of what's not said. Redford's admiration isn't confined to the past. When working with Cate Blanchett on the 2015 political drama Truth, he was unequivocal in his praise. "She's the best," he said flatly in an interview with People magazine. "She can do anything, as she's proven." It was a generous statement, and characteristic of Redford. Throughout his life, he's gone out of his way to support and elevate other artists, particularly through the Sundance Institute and its focus on independent voices. Blanchett, with her mercurial command of character and fearlessness in role choice, fit neatly into Redford's idea of what acting could be and should be. In Truth, Redford plays journalist Dan Rather, a man grappling with the collapse of credibility. Blanchett plays his producer, Mary Mapes, navigating professional and ethical implosions. The film isn't flashy, it doesn't court sentiment, but it simmers with a kind of moral disquiet, exactly the kind of terrain Redford has always found most interesting. "Working with someone like Cate reminded me of what drew me to film in the first place," he said during the Toronto International Film Festival that year. "The intensity, the honesty, the unpredictability. She's in complete control and yet completely open." There's a common thread running through Redford's favourite actors, an insistence on truth, however raw or uncomfortable. Whether it's Brando stripping down the American male to a pile of bruised vulnerabilities, Cagney dancing a tap dance of fury, or Blanchett channeling fire through elegance, Redford's lodestars all push beyond the script to something elemental. This aesthetic preference is reflected not just in his acting, but in the stories he chooses to tell. Films like The Candidate, Lions for Lambs, and The Company You Keep all bristle with ideological tension and emotional understatement.
The decisions you make now, Bud, can't be changed, but with years and years of hard work to redo it.
Redford is never interested in ego. His revolution, like his heroes, is one of quiet conviction. He's spoken admiringly of actors who leave space, who don't over-explain. "I like performances where the audience has to lean in," he once said in a lecture at the American Film Institute. That's what Cagney did, that's what Brando did at his best. They didn't spoon-feed anything. It's no surprise then that Redford's own work often courts ambiguity. In The Natural, he plays a mythic baseball hero, but the film aches with loss. In All Is Lost, he utters barely a word, letting his body, weary, desperate, enduring, do the storytelling. It's a performance that owes as much to silent film as to modern method acting. It's also worth noting that Redford's admiration extends to those who shaped his formative years on stage. He trained at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts and later studied painting in Europe, but it was in New York, among the grit and grime of off-Broadway, that he learned his trade. Actors like Paul Muni, Spencer Tracy, and Henry Fonda were early influences, performers whose restraint and authenticity appealed to Redford's own instincts. Fonda in particular had that economy I've always loved, Redford once noted. He could say more by doing less. But even these old-school heroes pale slightly next to the rogue brilliance of Brando or the caged dynamism of Cagney. In them, Redford saw not just performance, but transformation. Perhaps Redford's deepest tribute to the actors he admires lies not in imitation, but in facilitation. As the founder of the Sundance Institute in 1981, he has nurtured generations of new talent, giving them space to fail, to experiment, to grow. The likes of Quentin Tarantino, Paul Thomas Anderson, and Ryan Coogler all owe part of their rise to Redford's commitment to independence. But it's not just directors he's supported. The Sundance Labs have been a launching pad for dozens of actors who might otherwise have been overlooked. People like Hilary Swank, Regina King, and Michael B. Jordan. Asked once why he created Sundance, Redford replied, "Because the system wasn't making space for the kind of work I believed in. I wanted to create a home for the kind of risk-taking that shaped me. In other words, for the Brando spirit, for the Cagney nerve, for the Blanchett daring." Redford retired from acting in 2018, following his performance in The Old Man and the Gun, a whimsical, poignant tale of a gentleman bank robber. Fittingly, the film feels like a summation of his ethos: charm without arrogance, rebellion without noise, truth without sermon.
What do you think attracted you to Forrest Tucker? Was it the robberies or was it the escapes?
The escapes.
As for the actors who defined his gaze, they remain part of him. He's never been interested in mythologizing himself. Instead, he mythologizes others. Marlon, Jimmy, Kate. They all took chances, he said during a retrospective at Lincoln Center. They didn't play it safe. That's what I've always admired. It's a sentiment that speaks volumes. In a business that rewards visibility, Redford has always been more interested in depth. He may have been the face of a generation, but his heart has always belonged to the craft and to those bold enough to chase it without compromise.